Friends. This is Edward Zier here and Construction Accounting and Cashflow Expert Victor Zhou. How are you today, Victor?
Hi Ed, I'm fantastic. Looks like you're great.
It's been wonderful. Now, you're in beautiful Melbourne. What's it like in Melbourne today? Is it raining? Is it sunny? Is it doing everything, Victor?
A little bit cloudy, cold.
Yeah.
That's why we stay in office. Yeah, but it has been like this for the last couple of days. A little bit raining here, there. Melbourne.
Yeah, I'm from Melbourne originally. Now, Victor, I just want to say it's great to have you with us. You're a accountant who specializes in construction and cash flow. Victor, we were just talking a bit off camera as to what's happening in the construction and finance industry. Can you please tell all of us exactly what you're telling me? Because I was finding it fascinating. Please tell us what's happening in the industry with finance and construction and projects and everything.
All right, so that's a very interesting topic, and these days you hear a lot of different stories about the construction. Depending on where the source of information coming from, some people have very pessimistic view about this industry. See the builders going down, almost become non-news these days. Every week you can see a few more people more builders go bust. And you see this project get hold up, and family investors they crying in front of cameras, say that this bad industry. But when you're really talking to the people working in this industry, what I collect, the information I collect, yes, people struggle because this project that in the past the cost has increased so significantly in 2021, 22, and even nowadays. And it's hard to find people to finish the project. The trees are very tight with the schedule. They don't have a lot of capacity to move around to take new projects or even keep their original schedule. And also the cash flow is tightening. The bank is start saying no to a lot of construction business. They start asking for more security against the finance facility. And the non-banking factors also, like I'm talking about like trees and supplier in particular, they are tightening their policy as well, because everyone, when there's stress in this industry, everyone is feeling that stress. And so that the partner that they're working with in the business, they will say, okay, like we cut the facility, we have to reduce the trading term from 30 days, from 45 days down to 7 days, 2 weeks time. So that immediately made trouble for the builders and contractors working in this space, that they dealing with project that they have lost money, and they trying the best to find a resource, marshal their resource to finish the project and move forward. But on the other side, the money is becoming an issue, that if you don't have enough money to finish this project, then it's very hard to move forward. But also on the other side, like the new projects that we have seen being signed up recently, they all sign at a good margin. Like, because from the project owner to the subcontractor, everyone know there's price has changed. So people are more cautious when they do the estimating, and client is willing to accept a higher price as well if they can afford it. Because the worst thing that can happen to a client is not they paying 10% extra, 15% extra on this project, is they put money into this project, and somewhere in the middle of the project, the builder collapsed, right? The contractor left. And so they got a piece of land that with nothing, and they will be struggle to find more money, find other people to finish the product, and that's the worst that can happen to an investor. So the contract value has increased for the same kind of a contract, and there's still a lot of projects coming up in both commercial and residential. And so the future is good, as we always say, but the current situation is tough. We haven't been seeing that kind of situation for past 3-4 years. since the pandemic.
Wow. So that's fascinating because just reacting to, I mean, you give me heaps to react. And friends, if you've just tuned in, please like, share, and comment and connect with Victor, top accountant who specializes in construction. The bit that I find fascinating is that it sounds like builders are being squeezed everywhere. You've got interest rates squeezing them. You've got, in a way, customers squeezing them. Not much, I guess they're paying more, but you've got suppliers squeezing them as well. So I feel for builders. It sounds like builders are copying it from every angle. Is that a fair comment, Victor?
Oh, I think that's a very fair comment. All the builders that I talk to these days, and even including the contractors, they all feel squeezed because the reality is doesn't matter how big the business is. Majority of construction business had one or two projects that they lose money in the past 1 year, in the past 12 months. And some of them still having this project that they lose money. They know they're gonna lose money, but they still have to finish at the moment. So the problem with that is like they having this fixed contract, they cannot do too much to increase the price about this, but they have the obligation to finish it for their reputation and to avoid a bigger trouble, which normally you're talking about a legal dispute between the owner and the builders. So that's a tough situation that we face.
Just to understand, so is that because when they negotiated the contract, conditions were better? Now all these bad things have happened. The poor builder is stuck in this original contract and times have changed. Is that what you mean, Victor?
Well, that's a very interesting question. Like, I have to say that in Australia, especially in Victoria, we have a very different framework, contract framework for the building industry. That most of these contracts are signed at a fixed price. So this is the number one thing that contribute to this situation. So it is designed to protect the investor, right? But in situation that the cost increase so dramatically after signing up the contract that no one expected, and that hurt the business. And other things that contribute to this is like since the pandemic, the building industry during the pandemic is probably only one of the few industry that is still booming in that 3 years time. A lot of jobs being released to the market, a lot of people getting into the building space and start competing on the project. So builder at the time, contractor at the time, they try to stay competitive as well to win the project. So a lot of them will cut their price intentionally, and somehow some of them I even know they would rely on the government subsidies to make a profit and just not plan a proper margin in their own code. So, but you see what happened after that. Like now we all of that. Now the government subsidy is gone. Right? You have this contract you signed that now is hurting the business, right? So but that's a history that we cannot go back and change things in the past.
It is what it is.
Yeah, what we have to do now, I'll say this to all the builders I meet. What we have to do now is we have a plan that trading forward, there is a trouble that there is a projects bleeding money that we need to treat all of that, right? But if we can survive this, if we have a proper plan to survive this, and you have the profitable projects lining up, you know what you need to charge and charge the right price in the future, then you have a strong business because the market is strong, right? If we can survive this, then we will be able to build some very decent amount of equity as a business working in the construction industry.
Yeah. So question one, and this is great, Victor. Love where you're going. And friends, if you are watching, please smash that like, share, and comment, and connect with us on LinkedIn. So I want to ask you. So first question is, Victor. In the future, I understand things are looking good, and I totally understand you need to charge a good price going forward. Marketing sales issue. I want to ask you, in the here and now, what are your tips to any builders or anyone might be watching? How do they survive in the here and now? What are your immediate tips to survive this current problem?
Okay, so my suggestion is you follow a roadmap. It's not a rocket science to looking at the surviving the current situation. The first thing to do is be realistic, and be realistic and understand the situation that we're dealing with. All the business are different. We might be facing the similar problem, but all the business situation will be different. So understand our situation first, looking out at our project first, and know how much more money that we have to spend in our projects, each one of them, and what's the schedule of this, all your projects, how they lining up, and also understand the pipeline in your marketing and sales, so you know how many more projects that you're gonna bring in. And once you get this vision, then come back to what accountant will say, come back to your balance sheet, look at how much money that we currently owe to other people. Right? That will including your trees, and including the tax office or any other finance that we may have borrowed in the past, and looking at understand what is going to be the repayment schedule, what is our position there, and then you can form a picture about our cash flow position, right? And then we know where the gap is. Once you know where the gap is, it's easy to come with a solution, because by talking to the right people, then you're talking to your accountant or advisors, they are able to advise you how to treat all of this. But the first thing first, the picture has to be realistic. That we cannot talking about a remedy solution when we don't know what we deal with. That's the fundamental.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But in regards to how we treat all of this, first thing that we need to solve is money, the cash. Right. Even if we don't have this situation where people having project that they lose money, even if all the projects are profitable, the business can still go bust
Yeah. Yeah.
if there's no cash.
Yeah.
So not to say that we are currently under a different situation. So understand where the cash flow gap is, how much it is, and then work with your the professionals, and come with a plan. How we deal with each trading partners, with each creditors, how we deal with tax office, how we put everything into a plan that we can gradually paying them off while trading normal moving forward, and come to how to marshal your resource, that how to arrange your project schedule so you can maybe finish some project earlier to get a big lump sum payment, or reach certain milestone, get big lump sum payment, so that you can cover your cash flow needs without borrowing. And the bottom line is, if it after all this planning, we still need money to be injected into the business. Where is that money coming from? Is that coming from ourselves, from our personal savings, or we actually need to consider finance? When it comes to finance, how to deal with, you got hundreds, thousands of different finance products that in the market. Everyone is saying that they can help you. Not everyone can help you, right? All the finance product can help a particular group of people, but you might not be falling into that group. So consider thoroughly what finance deal should we get into, and talk to your advisor again to get the right documents in place to support your application. Because what goes wrong is, a lot of times when business owners trying to deal with the finance, the result they want to get is to get money into the business, right? But they don't coming from finance background. They're not coming from finance background. They don't know what should they provide, what they should be showing to the finance company, and what the consequence of them having this different finance product. So without a proper advice, quite a lot of times, that business owners find themselves get, after they get finance, right, they get a big lump sum payment, and then they don't know what to do with it. 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 They don't they find that finance repayment is not fit for the cash flow. So actually, the money they bring into the business is killing the business.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of time they can avoid that situation. And nowadays you have another problem that a lot of finance company, the salesperson tell you yes, and when you
Yeah.
submit everything, the credit team tell you no.
Yeah.
And between the yes and no, it's been 1 to 2 months, and you've been waiting and counting on this money to come into your business.
Yeah.
Last minute, no. What's your solution?
Yeah.
There's not many options that if the money doesn't come in at the right time, right? So that's the situation that unfortunately that we are dealing with.
Yeah.
But there are solutions, but we just need to follow the right procedures.
Yeah. And I agree with you. And I'm just being honest with you, as a guy, when the lockdowns hit, we lost most of our revenue. This is before we built our global business community. I used to do a lot of consulting and public speaking. It all went to zero, right? And the first thing I did was I spoke to my accountant, and she actually helped me get a stack of government grants that actually paid me a stack of money. And as well, she actually helped me with finance. So it's funny. I'm not a construction business, but it's funny as you're telling me this, as you're telling me about construction, I'm thinking about how this actually happened to me in a lockdown sense, right? And I agree with you. I think the worst thing you can do is, because if I didn't speak to my accountant, I would have been out of business, right? Easily. But I went to my accountant. She's like, hey, Ed, no problem. You can go on JobKeeper, disaster pay. Hey, here's this grant over here, right? And so I couldn't agree with you more. I think to anyone listening, if you're doing it by yourself, don't, right? Seek professional help. So I couldn't agree with you more. And that brings me to my next point, Victor, right? Once people get out of this here and now problem, right, which of course you're very adept at doing, how do you take advantage of the future? You mentioned before, like charge better pricing. Can you tell us a bit more about, once you're out of the short term here and now, how do you become more profitable? What are some of your top thoughts, Victor?
Okay, so we're looking at how a builder win in their game, right? So a business always went through 3 stages. They have a startup stage, and then they quickly get into the growth phase, right? And then if they're doing well, they get enough support, they can scale the business. It's not hard to tell between the startup and growth. You literally can tell it by the sales and the project number of projects they run. But a lot of people get confused between a growth and a scale. And here is a difference. The difference is whether you can grow your business sustainably with strong cash flow and consistent profit margin and bring enough money to yourself and build equity in the construction game. Right, I'm talking about literally builders become a development type of builder, start building their own portfolio. Every builder I talk to, that's their ultimate game plan. Right, they all want to get there. Right, so we're talking about like in maybe 20, 30 years ago, the game is different. The game hasn't changed. Right, people always getting to the construction, looking forward to build their own portfolio. But 20, 30 years ago, the margin in the building industry is much higher than nowadays. So it is much easier for the old generation and see that I do one project, I earn $500,000, and then I put into the property, I start building my own. How hard is that? I was talking to one of my clients. His father is a builder, and that's what he got told. But nowadays, you barely see this kind of project coming up, right? Barely. So what we have to do is we have to work more thoroughly on our business margin, like looking at exactly how much a project is going to cost you. We have to have that awareness. There is not that much room as before for us to uh, make mistakes in our estimation and then try to cover it with 5% of the gross margin. 5% of gross margin in the old days, it could be it still hurt, but it still bring you a profitable project, and still you still be able to build your equity there. But if you lose 5%
Yeah.
of the gross margin nowadays, right, especially now, then it could be having a very uh, tragedy impact on the business and affect all other projects. So starting point is do the proper estimation and making sure that we secure a good margin there, and we know that be conservative and know that we are going to make a decent margin there. But once we build the foundation, then we can actually grow our business through bringing multiple projects. And if we can build our equity through this construction business, then a builder can looking at, okay, having their own portfolio built up and to achieve their vision. That's what I think.
Oh, brilliant. I gotta say, very smart, Victor. I know, I mean, I don't run a coaching business. We run a global network and training business, but I'm loving this actually. So this this relates to me as well. And it's funny, actually, I thought of one of my old friends from years ago and clients, actually. He used to have a fresh produce business, right? Like as in supplying, fresh apples, pears and all
Yeah.
that to the supermarkets. And I know you know this, so you probably do. Do you want to know what his gross margin was, right? Have a guess what his gross margin was.
Yeah, tell me.
3%.
3%.
3%. And I was just thinking, my God, and he would say to me, we do millions of dollars a year, and the margins like wafer thin in the fresh produce game. I was just thinking, if you took 5% off his that would be the end of his business. Like they'd be straight into liquidation, right? So I think it's amazing. So now I'm going to say, I love your thoughts, Victor. Now I just want to say, to anyone watching, hey, if you want to talk to Victor, he's a fine man. Connect with him on LinkedIn and have a chat with him. Victor, I just love to hear from you. Any closing thoughts? We'd love to hear it. And how can people speak to you and how can people work with you, Victor?
We do run a free consultation session for people because our business is different. We're helping the construction business to deal with their cash flow issue, to achieve better financial performance on their project, and to optimize their business so they can, from the growth, getting to the scale phase and start building their equity. But when talking about our business is different, so we want to make a personalized plan for each business. We do offer free consultation sessions so we can learn each other in the business, and I can see exactly what problem that we need to deal with right now and come up a plan, customized plan for the for the builders. So if anyone want to reach to us, like they can either go to our website or send me an email at inquiry@yourcfopartner.com.au, or just call me, give me a buzz on 0430-326-741. That's Australian number. Right. So I would be love to hear from you, and I'll be happy to help.
Oh, Victor Zhou, thank you again. To everyone watching, just want to say appreciate you. Please share this interview everywhere and contact Victor anytime. Victor, thank you for your time. I know you're a busy man and you've got a lot of clients to work through, and we appreciate you, Victor.
Thanks, Ed. I really love to join this